Miss Steve. I am the Affordable Life Coach. One of the things that comes up in my life, in my client's life, and that pretty much all of us struggle with is timidity, is fear of people, fear of disapproval, fear of being authentically who we are. We cower, we hide, we avoid, we suppress how we truly feel. And one of the common phrases that people who want to appear neutral will say is, I'm in the middle. And I've even said this on things that actually I'm not in the middle about. I feel very convicted on one side or the other, but it's just easier to say you're in the middle, especially when you know the person does not agree with you, or the person might think, oh, that's a weird point of view, or that's unpopular point of view, or that is all the different labels that they'll put on your point of view to try to discredit, discount you, and minimize yourself and your opinion. And so it causes a lot of us to just zip our lip or put a lot of sugar on what we're saying. And when you put a lot of sugar on what you're saying, you weaken and dilute the message. And people pick up on that as weakness, as cowardness, as people pleasing. And we look at the short term, people who do that, and we all do it. Some people do it a lot more than others, but we all do it to a certain degree. And the thing that I'm really trying to do in my life is just, and the clients that want this, is weed that out of our lives. So we come from a place of courage. We come from a place of boldness. We come from a place of, this is who I am. Maybe 80, 90% of the population or people I meet are not going to like it, but that's not who my target market is. I want to connect with the 10% that are enlightened, are that have similar values than me, are open-minded, are critical thinkers, are people that question everything and do some research, deep research, and don't just believe whatever they're told on the internet or on TV, but they have some gumption to really be a truth seeker. And that's something that's really hard to find in people. It's just so much easier not to do critical thinking, not to stand up for what you believe in, to lay low, not get involved. It's not my problem. I don't want to offend anyone. And then we can't understand why we don't like who we are. We can't understand why we have low self-esteem. We can't understand why we don't feel a sense of boldness and courage and confidence when we go out into the world and engage with people. It's because we have been conditioned from a young age to be cowardly, to be cowards. Don't upset anyone. Don't offend anyone. Don't say the wrong thing. Don't say the truth because it's going to hurt their feelings. And it's only getting worse and worse in within the last 5 to 10 years. People have become hypersensitive, and what we do is we are now afraid to speak up, to speak the truth. And I'm not talking about being hurtful or saying rude, abrasive things. I'm talking about taking a stand. Taking a stand for what you believe in, taking a stand for who you are, taking a stand of just advertising the world, this is my value system, this is what I think, and if you disagree, that's okay. Your opinion of me doesn't define me. Your opinion of me is not going to make or break me. And it's just such a rare quality. Every now and then, I'll run into people who are bold in the face of criticism and will speak the truth despite of being the risk of being ostracized, laughed at, scorned at, judged. I admire and I am attracted to those people. And when you look at people who have accomplished great things in history, there's a whole quote, I don't know the exact quote, but first they laugh at you. And you can, if any of you know that quote, you can write it in the comments. And then they mock you, and then they believe you, and then they come to your side, something along those lines. I know I'm butchering it, but that's the whole thing. If we are all too afraid to speak up, it just allows things to run amok. It allows the evil to run amok. It allows corruption to run amok. It allows people in powerful positions to get away with whatever they want. And we're so afraid to speak up that all it takes is just one voice. And when you have that one voice, other people get emboldened and other people get empowered. And it can even happen in a meeting, at work. Most people are too afraid to speak up in those situations. And we rationalize it by saying, I want to be fair. I want to understand both sides and I want to be in the middle. And sometimes that might be true. But in reality, it's no. What you really want is to play it safe. What you really want is not to be judged or not to have any arrows be thrown your way. And it doesn't feel like an exhilarating way to live. And in my life coaching sessions, I've been doing it for 12 and a half years. That's one of the most important things, is to be a person of courage and boldness and share and advertise who you are. And you'll be amazed at how many people you start attracting. That, yeah, a lot of people are going to criticize and not want to hang out with you. But since I started making these videos, I've been coaching 12 and a half years, making videos 14 years plus. I'll get emails, messages of people say, oh my God, I didn't realize, other people thought like this. I didn't realize there are other people out there. And it's getting more common because it's easier to find people like this on the internet. But even then, you still got to do a deep search. And there are people that want to connect and bond and share their walk, their journey with you, but they don't even know who's safe to share, to be themselves with, and who's not safe. Because we all there are exceptions, but most people all just want to be approved of, or at least not rock the boat. And let's just take a stand in our lives. Let's be bold. There's a great series, or interesting series, I think it was on ABC, you could find it in YouTube, What Would You Do? And it shows all these different situations of people in public, and they're paid actors, but like one will be bullying another person, or they'll be doing something wrong, or they'll want to kick someone out of a restaurant because of their political beliefs or whatever it is. And they want to see what people do. And what would you do? And so many people just ignore it and don't say anything. When we see wrongdoing, it's so easy to rationalize because we want to play it safe. We want to not have any confrontation. We're so confrontational avoidant. When I'm coaching clients, that's the first thing that we work on, or one of the things, if that's an issue in their life, is like they don't want to be truthful and honest with people, or radically honest with people, because I'm afraid of confrontation. I'm afraid it's going to lead into an argument. And most of the time, the majority of the time, it doesn't. And they're like, oh, that wasn't that bad. But when we share proudly and confidently who we are, when we take a stand for people that are in weaker situations, man, it feels good. And man, it feels good to be alive. And again, don't put yourself in danger. Like, if you see a domestic situation, you got to be very, out in public, you got to be very careful with those and call the police and things like that. But in other situations, let's speak up when we see wrong happening in the world. And the past 2 years, people were so afraid, a good majority of people were so afraid to speak up with all the craziness that was going on, all the tyranny that was going on. And we're tribal people. We want to be around people that support us, that we can connect us, that we know they've got our back and we've got their back. And if we're just meek and passive and weak, we're not going to build that community. And a lot of people I work with, one of the things that they struggle with is just making connections, deep connections, meeting friends, building a community. And, a big part of it is because we're fearful. And it feels so good to slowly, and that's what I work on in coaching with clients, is we do gradual social stretching. Some clients don't even want to go there, and then they are only thinking short term, like, it's too uncomfortable, I don't want to deal with it, and let me just suppress who I am, how I feel. And then your future self pays the price. Relationships start to erode when you're not able to be truthful. But man, it's like emboldening, and it's like an exciting way to live if you're not having friction in your relationships, and there's not some tension and everything's wonderful, rainbows, cotton candy, and unicorns. You're not really being yourself. Rocking the boat is good, and I'm not saying to start fights and arguments and be abrasive, so please don't mistake what I'm saying. I'm saying just be who you are, express who you are, even when it's uncomfortable. I work with some clients who get very anxious in social situations, and the big reason for that is because they avoid it. And anything you avoid in your life is going to intensify. It's going to grow. You're going to become more fearful if you avoid things that make you uncomfortable. So let's wake up in the morning and go, what can I do today to take a stand? What can I do today to be more authentic and truthful in my communications with people? What can I do today to set boundaries with people and tell them something that bothers me, or even give them a kind, loving, genuine compliment? And you'll see the depth of your relationships will significantly improve. And if we shift off of screens for our communication and we communicate in real life with real people, you're building that muscle, because that muscle for so many of us has atrophied because everything's done now, or the majority of it's done digitally. And we've lost the art of real conversations, real connections. And part of real conversations is sharing who you are even when it's difficult, and embracing who you are. And that's part of the challenge, is when you don't like who you are, and we are conditioned not to like who you are because you're much more easily controlled when you don't like who you are. You're going to seek validation from something, advertisers, somebody externally, from peers, from the government, from politicians, from different external sources. And that's why it's so important to have a strong spiritual core, and to, if you believe in God, to fear God and not man or not woman, but to fear God, and to have a life that is rooted in truth. And if we're going around and saying, and playing it safe and saying, I'm in the middle, or I don't want to express my opinion because it might make people uncomfortable, or they might not like me, what kind of life is that? At the end of your life, do you want to look back and go, oh yeah, I played it safe and I had minimal amount of friction with people? Don't you want to go, hey, I didn't play it safe. I had some friction with people because I was being authentic, but I also had some really deep, meaningful, fulfilling connections. But we just have turned into cowards because we're so afraid of disapproval. We're so afraid of being canceled. We're so afraid people aren't going to like us. That shouldn't be our highest aim. Our highest aim should be truth and authenticity. And one of the epidemics is now with ghosting, where people, and I get this with clients that want to have a meaningful relationship, and so we're working on dating, and they'll tell me in the sessions, yeah, I thought we had a good date, and they just ghosted me. They don't return my messages, they don't call me, I don't even know what I did, what happened. And that's just evidence of how afraid we have become and how cowardly we become in telling people the truth. One of the biggest gifts you can give somebody is to really tell them the truth. And that's one of the things I focus on in coaching. If you ever do decide to do coaching with me, we are going to be truthful with each other, because that's the only way we grow. That's the only way we evolve. We have to stop self-deluding ourselves. One of my clients, he went on a date, and instead of getting ghosted, the person responded back to him and told him the truth about why he thinks they're not a match. He really appreciated it, even though it was hard to hear. And when we in our house, or when we leave our house, let's look for opportunities where we can take a stand and not play it safe and be in the middle. And you'll be amazed how much more exciting and invigorating and empowering and confidently you can go through life. If you're interested, and everybody will benefit from it, the coaching, my email's in the description. The consultation is absolutely free, and then it's ridiculously affordable afterwards. You could give it a try. There's absolutely no obligation. If you want to support the channel to see more videos like this, it really means a lot to me. There's a PayPal link in the description. Even if it's just, a small donation, anything is appreciated. And your comments on this video, and if you are a person that goes through life taking a stand, or do you play it safe and somewhere in the middle? I appreciate you all, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.